The announcement echoed through the central hall of the Galactic Unified Academy, calm and formal, yet heavy with meaning. A new regulation had been approved by the Council. Human students were now restricted from several advanced research wings until further notice. The reason given was simple and cold. Humans were considered unstable in method and unpredictable in outcome. Across the vast hall, students from many worlds reacted at once. Some showed mild surprise, others clear approval. A group of tall-scaled scholars whispered among themselves with amused clicks. A cluster of luminous beings laughed openly. To many of them, the decision only confirmed what they already believed. Humans were new to the Academy. Their species had joined interstellar society later than most. They came from a world known for storms, quakes, and sudden change. To alien minds shaped by stable suns and calm planets, humans seemed reckless and overly emotional. Jisoo Park stood near the back of the hall. He was slim, dark-haired, and quiet. His face did not change when the announcement ended. He simply listened. Beside him stood Era Kim, her hands clenched at her sides. She stared forward, jaw tight, but said nothing. A few rows ahead, Hyan Lei let out a slow breath. He had expected something like this. Since his first day at the Academy, he had noticed the way alien students watched humans, as if waiting for a mistake. Now they had an official excuse. As the crowd began to disperse, the mockery started. It was not hidden or subtle. "So the chaos makers are finally contained," said a blue-skinned student loudly, his voice carrying across the hall. "About time," another replied. "Imagine letting storm-born minds near precision systems." Laughter followed. Jisoo lowered his eyes and walked forward. Era followed him. Hyan stayed behind a moment longer, meeting the gaze of one of the laughing students. The alien tilted his head and smiled in a way that held no kindness. Classes continued as usual, but the atmosphere had changed. In shared lecture halls, humans now sat apart. Equipment access panels no longer responded to their presence. Research doors scanned them and remained shut. During a systems theory lecture, an instructor displayed a complex energy lattice model. When Jisoo raised his hand to ask a question, a nearby alien student scoffed. "Why ask?" the student muttered. "He cannot touch the system anyway." The instructor did not comment. He simply continued the lecture. Jisoo wrote quietly in his pad. He did not look angry. He looked focused. Hyan noticed everything. He noticed how the same students who laughed struggled during practical simulations. He noticed small failures in their work, tiny errors that grew under pressure. He also noticed that no one wanted to admit it. After classes, the humans gathered in a narrow common space assigned to them. The room was clean but plain. No advanced tools, no experimental rigs. "This is unfair," Era said finally. "They treat us like a problem to lock away." "They are afraid," Hyan replied. "Fear hides behind rules." Jisoo looked up from his notes. "Fear comes from not understanding," he said softly. Era sighed. "Understanding will not change their minds." "Evidence might," Hyan said. That night, the academy lights dimmed to simulate a rest cycle. Most students returned to their quarters. Jisoo did not. He walked alone through lower maintenance corridors where few others went. The walls here showed wear. Panels were old. Systems hummed instead of glowing. He stopped at a sealed service door. After a moment, he connected his pad. The lock opened. Inside was a forgotten maintenance lab. Broken units, discarded parts, outdated tools. To others, it was junk. To Jisoo, it was possibility. Over the next days, the mockery grew worse. In group discussions, humans were ignored. In shared spaces, conversations stopped when they entered. Some alien students openly blamed humans for any system error, even those unrelated. Professor Kale observed it all. He was ancient by Academy standards, his form tall and wrapped in layered robes. His species valued long memory and hard lessons. He did not intervene. Experience teaches better than correction, he told a fellow instructor. Meanwhile, the Academy systems began to behave strangely. Power grids fluctuated without cause. Simulation chambers reset mid-test. Navigation arrays produced conflicting data. Alien students complained loudly. Technicians ran diagnostics and found nothing wrong. Jisoo watched the error reports closely. Patterns formed in his mind. Every failure traced back to a shared core algorithm, one designed long before humans ever left their planet. Hyan joined him in the maintenance lab one evening. He stared at the scattered parts and half-built models. "They think we are unstable," Hyan said. "But this system assumes stability." Jisoo nodded. "It cannot adapt fast enough." Era and Doyeon Choi soon joined them. Quiet work replaced frustration. They tested ideas with simple tools. They argued, failed, adjusted, and tried again. Above them, in the pristine research wings, alien students continued to laugh. None of them noticed that the humans were learning something far more important than access. They were learning where the system would break, and when it did, the humans would be ready. The days after the band settled into a strange routine at the Academy. On the surface, everything appeared calm. Classes continued, lectures were delivered, and schedules were followed. Yet beneath that order, small problems kept growing. In the advanced research wings, alien students argued more often. Experiments that had once been simple now failed without warning. Precision tools refused to align. Energy readings drifted beyond safe limits and then snapped back as if nothing had happened. Many blamed the machines. "The equipment is outdated," one student complained. "No," another replied. "A calibration team is lazy." No one mentioned the shared systems that connected everything. No one questioned the core logic that governed the Academy itself. In the restricted human commons, the mood was quieter but more focused. Jisoo Park spent most of his time reviewing data streams that were publicly accessible. He did not need restricted access to see the symptoms. The evidence was everywhere. Hyan Lee watched simulation replays from failed alien projects. He slowed them down frame by frame. His eyes narrowed as patterns repeated. "They push for control," he said one evening. "They force the system to behave." Era Kim leaned over his shoulder. "And when it resists, they push harder." "On Earth," Hyan said, "that gets people killed." The maintenance lab became their refuge. It was never meant for research, yet it allowed freedom. No one monitored their work there. No one expected anything important to come from humans anymore. Doyeon Choi repaired an old power regulator and adapted it into a test unit. Era mapped failure points using nothing more than logic trees and trial runs. Jisoo designed adaptive loops on his pad, rewriting them again and again until they felt right. They did not aim for perfection. They aimed for survival. Outside their hidden space, the mockery continued. Alien students joked openly about human limits. Some placed bets on when the humans would be sent home. One afternoon, during a shared lecture, a senior alien student stood and addressed the room. "The Academy made the right choice," he said. "Unstable minds do not belong near delicate systems." Several students nodded. A few glanced toward the human section with thin smiles. Jisoo did not look up. Professor Kale observed from the front. His eyes lingered on the humans longer than most noticed. That same day, a serious malfunction occurred in a planetary simulation chamber. The artificial environment destabilized, forcing an emergency shutdown. Students were evacuated. Instructors argued in urgent tones. The official report listed the cause as unknown. Jisoo read the report twice. Then he looked at Hyan. "It matched our model," Jisoo said. Hyan nodded slowly. The failure threshold is shrinking. They increased their work pace. Sleep became optional. Mistakes were accepted as steps forward. Their prototype grew piece by piece. It was small, rough, and built from mismatched components. By alien standards, it looked careless. By human standards, it was flexible. Era tested it under unstable inputs. The device did not break. It bent, adjusted, and recovered. Diane laughed softly. It hates order, he said. No, Jisoo replied. It understands chaos. Meanwhile, tension rose across the academy. Faculty meetings grew longer. Maintenance teams worked non-stop. The central systems resisted all attempts at refinement. Some alien students began to worry. This never happened before humans arrived. One whispered. Another replied. They bring disorder. Hyan heard those words and shook his head. They confuse cause and mirror, he said. Late one cycle, an academy-wide alert flashed briefly before vanishing. Most students ignored it. Jisoo did not. He captured the signal. It was a warning, he said. The system corrected itself too fast. Era looked uneasy. Can it hold? Not forever, Hyan answered. Professor Kale requested reports from every department. When none provided clear answers, he visited the lower levels alone. He followed faint power readings until he reached the maintenance lab door. He paused before entering. Inside, he sensed intense activity. He did not stop them. As days passed, the academy prepared for an upcoming interspecies symposium. Important guests would arrive. Demonstrations were planned. Reputation was at stake. The core systems strained under the added demand. Alien students practiced their presentations with confidence. Unaware of the fragile balance beneath them. In the maintenance lab, the humans watched live system feeds. Jisoo closed his pad slowly. It will fail soon, he said. Hyan met his eyes. Then they will have no choice but to see. Above them, the academy lights glowed steady and bright. Below them, the humans waited, calm and ready, holding proof built from rejection, patience, and quiet resolve. The day of the interspecies symposium arrived with careful order and bright displays. Visitors from many systems entered the academy, guided by students proud of their work. Holograms floated in the air. Energy paths glowed beneath transparent floors. Everything looked perfect. Jisoo Park stood with the other humans near the lower levels, watching system feeds instead of the celebrations. His face was calm, but his hands moved quickly across his pad. The load is rising faster than expected, he said. Hyan Lee leaned closer. They added live demonstrations. Era Kim folded her arms. They always add more. Above them, in the main hall, alien students spoke with confidence. They explained models that promised balance and control. Guests nodded, impressed by smooth visuals and steady numbers. No one saw the tiny delays forming between system responses. No one noticed the correction cycles growing shorter. Professor Kale stood near the edge of the hall, silent. His gaze drifted often toward the structural readouts hovering at the far side of the room. Then it happened. A planetary scale simulation began to shake. Gravity values spiked. The hologram flickered. Alarms did not sound at first. Because the system believed it could correct itself. It was wrong. A deep vibration spread through the hall. Guests stumbled. Students froze. End the demonstration. Someone shouted. The controls did not respond. Red warnings finally appeared across the displays. A localized gravity field began to collapse inward, pulling energy toward its core. If it failed completely, the damage would spread through the dome. Panic followed. Alien instructors rushed to terminals. Students tried to override safety locks. Commands stacked on top of each other, each one fighting the last. The system resisted harder. Below, In the maintenance lab, the humans watched the feed turn red. That is it, Hyan said. Jisoo nodded once. We go now. They moved fast. Era grabbed the portable stabilizer they had built. Doyan powered it up. The device hummed unevenly, alive in a way polished alien tools never were. Security barriers blocked their path as they reached the restricted corridor. Era did not slow down. She rerouted power manually. The door slid open with a sharp sound. An alarm triggered. Security units appeared, blocking the path to the main hall. Unauthorized access, a mechanical voice said. Hyan stepped forward. If you stop us, the dome will fail. The units raised the restraints. Professor Call's voice cut through the channel. Stand down. The security units paused. The humans ran. Inside the main hall, gravity twisted. Objects drifted and slammed back down. Guests were evacuated as instructors struggled to contain the collapse. Jisoo reached the central control platform. He connected the stabilizer directly into the system, ignoring standard protocols. The device screamed under the strain. Alien technicians shouted, "You will break it." One cried. "It is already breaking," Jisoo replied. Hyan adjusted input values in real time, allowing fluctuation instead of forcing balance. Era monitored stress points, redirecting overloads before they could form. The system resisted at first. Then it changed. The gravity field stopped shrinking. It pulsed, uneven but stable. Readings jumped wildly, then slowly settled into a new pattern. Silence spread across the hall. The collapse stopped. The stabilizer powered down on its own. Smoke rose from its surface. Doyan quickly disconnected it before it could burn out completely. Guests stared. Students stared. The humans stepped back, breathing hard. Professor Kale approached the platform. He studied the data streams, his expression unreadable. "This design," he said slowly, "does not seek control?" "No," Hyan said. "It seeks response." Council members arrived moments later. They demanded explanations. Jisoo did not argue. He displayed the data. Comparisons filled the air. Alien models failed under stress. Human adaptive loops evolved. Murmurs spread through the hall. The same students who had laughed now watched in silence. One of them finally spoke. This was forbiddance. Professor Kale turned to him. So was ignoring reality. Medical teams cleared the hall. Repairs began. The symposium was suspended. The humans were escorted away, not in chains, but under heavy attention. In a quiet chamber, council members reviewed the evidence again and again. The results did not change. Outside, alien students whispered. Fear replaced mockery. Jisoo sat with his team, exhausted but steady. He looked at the damaged stabilizer resting on the table. It worked, Era said softly. For now, Jisoo replied. Hyan smiled faintly. For long enough. Beyond the walls, the academy systems recalibrated themselves, altered by human logic that accepted uncertainty instead of fighting it. The evidence could no longer be denied. The ban had been broken, not by protest or anger, but by survival. The hours after the collapse felt heavy and slow. The academy no longer buzzed with pride or laughter. It moved with care, as if afraid of itself. Systems ran at reduced output. Hallways were quiet. Students spoke in low voices. Jisoo Park, and the others were asked to wait in a plain chamber near the council wing. No restraints were placed on them, but guards stood outside the door. Era Kim sat with her back straight, hands folded. Doyan Choi leaned against the wall, eyes half closed. Hyan Lee stood near the window, watching distant lights flicker. They will blame us, Era said. They will question us, Hyan replied. That is different. Jisoo said nothing. He reviewed the data again in his mind. The numbers had not lied. They never did. Inside the council chamber, discussion grew tense. Members replayed the event from every angle. They examined command logs, response delays, and failure points. Again and again, the same truth appeared. The human device had not forced the system into order. It had allowed change. One council member tapped the table. This approach violates centuries of doctrine. Professor Kale answered calmly. Doctrine is not law. Reality is. Another member spoke. If this logic is sound, then our core systems are incomplete. Incomplete does not mean flawed, Kale said. It means unfinished. The door to the waiting chamber opened. The humans were escorted inside. The council studied them closely. Not with anger, with curiosity. Jisoo was asked to explain his design. He spoke simply. Our world is unstable. Storms change direction. Ground breaks. Systems fail. Humans learn to expect it. We build tools that listen instead of command. A council member asked, why was this not shared earlier? Hyen answered, we were banned. Silence followed. Data projections filled the chamber. Simulations ran side by side. Alien models collapsed under pressure. Human adaptive loops shifted and survived. The evidence was clear. Outside the chamber, alien students waited. Those who had mocked the humans now avoided their eyes. Some looked confused. Others looked afraid. I thought they were careless, one whispered. They are not careless, another replied. They are prepared. Hours passed at last. The council reached a decision. The human ban was suspended immediately. A new classification was announced. Humans would be recognized as adaptive specialists, suited for crisis systems, unstable environments, and emergency response design. The announcement spread quickly through the academy. Reactions were mixed. Some alien students felt threatened. Others felt relief. Many felt shame. Jisoo and his team were released without punishment. Instead, they were given access. When Jisoo stepped into an advanced research wing for the first time, he paused. The room was bright, clean, and filled with tools he had only studied from a distance. Aira exhaled slowly. So this is what they kept from us. Hyen smiled. Not anymore. Not all welcomed the change. During a shared project briefing, an alien student crossed his arms and spoke sharply. You broke protocol and embarrassed us before guests. Hyen met his gaze. The dome still stands. The student looked away. Professor Kale assigned mixed teams. Humans were placed into system stress groups. Some alien students resisted at first, questioning every suggestion. Then the tests began. Under extreme conditions, the human methods held. Where alien systems froze, human designs shifted. Failures became data, not disasters. Slowly, attitudes changed. One alien student approached Jisoo after a long session. Your model allowed error, he said. It felt wrong. Jisoo nodded. It feels wrong until it works. The academy itself began to change. Core algorithms were updated with adaptive layers. Emergency protocols were rewritten. Old assumptions were challenged. Not everyone liked it, but no one could deny the results. Late one cycle, Jisoo stood alone in the main hall where the collapse had nearly occurred. The floor was repaired. The lights were steady. Professor Kale joined him. You could have demanded recognition earlier, Kale said. Jisoo shook his head. Demand invites resistance. And patience invites proof, Kale replied. Across the academy, alien students studied human case histories. They learned about floods, quakes, fires, and survival under constant threat. Mockery faded into respect. The humans did not celebrate loudly. They returned to work. The evidence had spoken for them, and the academy would never see stability the same way again. The academy settled into a new rhythm. It was not calmer, but it was stronger. Systems no longer chased perfect balance. They watched, adjusted, and learned. Failures still happened, but they no longer spread. Jisoo Park worked in a shared lab with students from many species. The room was busy and loud, filled with motion and quiet focus at the same time. Screens showed live data from test environments designed to push systems past comfort. Era Kim coordinated response models. She spoke clearly and directly, her voice steady even when readings spiked. Doyan Choi handled physical systems, modifying parts as problems appeared instead of waiting for permission. Hyan Lee trained emergency teams. He taught them to expect surprise. He showed them records from Earth, not to frighten them, but to explain why humans planned the way they did. Disaster is not an enemy you defeat, he told them. It is a condition you survive. Some alien students struggled with the idea. They wanted certainty. They wanted rules that never changed. Others learned quickly. During a joint exercise, a simulated star station lost power without warning. Alien teams froze, searching for the correct response tree. The human-led team moved at once, creating temporary solutions that kept systems alive. When the exercise ended, the results were clear. The human method had not been cleaner, but it had worked. Across the academy, old opinions faded. Mockery disappeared. Questions replaced it. One student who had once laughed openly now approached Jisoo after a long session. "How do you stay calm?" he asked, "when nothing is stable?" Jisoo thought for a moment. "Because nothing was ever stable for us," he said. The council approved new programs. Human-led adaptive engineering became a core subject. Mixed species teams were required in crisis research. The academy gained a reputation. Other institutions requested data. Some asked for human advisors. Jisoo received an offer to co-lead a permanent research division. He accepted quietly. Era and Doyan joined him without ceremony. Hyan declined a full-time position. He chose instead to travel between systems, training response units where instability was common. On his last day at the academy, he stood with Jisoo in the main hall. "They see us now," Hyan said. "They always could," Jisoo replied. "They just did not want to." Hyan smiled and turned toward the exit. Life continued. New students arrived each cycle. Some heard stories about humans before they arrived. Not stories of chaos, but of solutions born under pressure. When a minor system failure occurred months later, no one panicked. Humans and aliens worked together. The fix was simple. The lesson remained. Professor Kale observed from a distance. He watched students argue, fail, adjust, and succeed. The academy has changed, a fellow instructor said. Kale nodded. It has learned. Jisoo walked through the corridors once close to him. He remembered the day of the ban, the laughter, the silence that followed. None of it felt heavy now. Respect had not been given. It had been earned. In a quiet moment, Jisoo returned to the old maintenance lab. The space was empty, cleaned, and marked for future study. The first stabilizer was gone, archived as evidence. He touched the wall where it had once rested. The academy lights glowed steady overhead, not because the system demanded order, but because it allowed change not far beyond the academy. Other worlds faced storms, fractures, and unknown threats, and when they did, humans would not be banned. They would be called. Because what others once mocked as instability was the reason humanity endured. The evidence remained, written into the systems themselves. Humanity did not conquer the academy. It adapted it.